Good morning and welcome to the Trade Setup right here on BloombergQuint Live. It's Monday morning, the start of a busy week, full of news flow and activity and events, mind you. But I think the telling part for me and for a lot of you who may not have known about it or may have missed it, so it's very difficult these days, what happened in the US markets and NASDAQ on Friday. Let's start off with that and then get to the week. It was a day of Apple, really. Actually, it's a day of all this big tech, but Apple just blew everybody's minds away with the kind of up move that stock showed. And the reason I bring this up is because what Apple did and what Nasdaq did are very pertinent and important to what will happen to our markets today. Mind you, everything that happens to the Nasdaq and the big tech has a big impact in some way. I think on Geo and thereby what happens to the Indian markets too. And I'm using my words carefully out here. What happens to Reliance has a big bearing on what the Indian markets do. It's never been more so correlated in the last few years, if you will. But yeah, big move in Apple, big move in Nasdaq, good move for the US markets. And I think if you look at the Asian screen this morning or the SGX Nifty this morning, both of them will come up on your screen. In HSI, KOSPI, ASX, Straits Times, there is mildly positive uh, behavior, if you will, across as a consensus. Now, some of those indices may be slightly lower, some of those indices may be slightly higher than what they did at the start of the trading day, but mildly positive for sure. I mean, that's the Asian screen, and as you can see, I mean, there is largely a positive tone. CSI, S&P, etc., all of them doing okay. And the SGX Nifty, the last time I checked, also had a bit of a positive traction to it. I think if I'm not wrong, it was 0.88% higher about half an hour ago. Now about negative minus half a percent. So it's been all over the place, if you will. Excuse me for that. I thought it was mildly higher, but maybe I was a bit wrong. But let's see. I think the bent is still positive because we coming off, and this mildly positive traction is one thing, but we're coming off of 3 down days, and after that, could there be a small uptick? That's the key question that you got to ask yourself. Now, there are two or three facets to this. Remember, viewers. One, a lot of media reports talking about how global giants like Apple, etc., are thinking of setting up global manufacturing centers in India. That is part one. News of SEBI relooking at the restrictions on mutual fund investing in mid caps is a big positive. Now, of course, there are different elements to the markets currently, but viewers would remember that this is, of course, the Economic Times report. But if indeed this comes out, viewers would remember in 2018 when these norms were introduced, they were a big factor of what happened to the market pullback. They played a big part. Now, if indeed these restrictions are changed, even marginally, it could actually be a big positive. I think autos will continue to lead the list of gainers today simply because the numbers have been better than estimated, and Reliance may participate in the up move too, if indeed it does, and therefore that could be a big traction point too. Remember, viewers, as much as the day's events are important, what the RBI Monetary Policy Committee does come towards the second half of the week on the 6th of August, to be precise, would be a very, very important pairing as well. Okay, to individual stocks, and the stock of the day, to my mind, it's a bit of a no-brainer, really. It's not to my mind, to everybody's mind, would be Bandhan Bank. And we know what the reaction will be. So it's a bit of a no-brainer that I'm telling you, but I'm still telling you simply because it will be a big, big mover at the start of the trading day. Promoter Bandhan Financial Holdings are going to sell about 33.7 crore shares. The floor price is at 311 rupees per share, which is a discount of 9.89 or 9.9% to Friday's close. Promoters intend to raise about 10,000 crores on the stake sale. This is from the term sheet. But keep in mind, this is a very large discount to the CMP, and therefore the stock will start off lower, and you have to be mindful of that. So this would arguably be the stock of the day. Now, whether it gets lapped up at those lower levels, I think brokerage notes or sales notes, a couple of them that I've read, seem to suggest that, but you never know. Other stocks to watch, and I think there's a weak quarter for two names which have largely been resilient, which is Relaxo Footwear and Tata Chemicals. So both of these came out with the quarterly performances which were pretty weak compared to what they usually say, so or usually do. So Relaxo had a 44% downtick in revenue, had about a 74 basis points drop in EBITDA margins, and the profit after tax was down about 51%. The management said they see progressive signs of improvement as restrictions are easing, but we know restrictions aren't easing, and therefore it's a stop-start economy. And this quarter may be bad too for Relaxo. So let's wait and watch. Similarly, Tata Chemicals consolidated numbers look very shabby. I mean, PAT was down about 91% at 13.3 crores. The estimates were 165 crores. EBITDA was down about 30% at about 359 crores. Estimates were 425. Margins at 15.32 versus 19.9%. Again, the estimates out there were about 18%. So much lower and much lower than estimates, more importantly. I know you would like to think, how can people estimate? But frankly, the trend of this result season thus far is what I've seen is that companies are reacting to numbers posted versus the estimated numbers, even if those estimates were, well, for whatever it is worth, not the best. But still, a company stocks are reacting to that, and therefore I believe that Tata Nickel could react negatively today. Margins impacted by higher raw material costs. It's a weak quarter for both Dr. Lal PathLabs and Thyrocare. I think Lal PathLabs came in during the market hours, but Thyrocare came out post market hours, and this seems to be a bit of a trend that these diagnostic lab companies aren't quite doing well, and therefore could have a reaction. Now, a lot of negatives, but some positives as well. And I thought autos were a bit of a silver lining, even though things may just sour come August, May, I don't know. But the July numbers, Maruti Suzuki, the sales were up 80% from the June levels at about 1.08 lakh units. And I'm using month on month just to show you how strong July was compared to June. And it was the highest monthly sales since February. So that is a good thing. Hero MotoCorp, they reported a strong improvement on a month-on-month sales. I think July sales were up about 14% month-on-month at 5.14 lakh units versus 4.5, and this was better than estimated. So therefore, you would reckon that Hero too could have a slightly positive reaction. The company said though that the micro lockdowns are impacting sales. So let's wait and watch how this one does. I reckon it was okay. Then Ashok Leyland, TVS Motors, Eicher Motors, all of these came out with better than expected auto numbers. Leyland, the July sales were at about 4775 units versus expectations of 3115. TVS 252,000 units versus expectation of 229. Eicher was 40,000 units versus expectations of 39. So all of these came out with better numbers, and I would reckon that they could do well in the session today. So watch out for autos, as I said in the trade setup too. Could be an interesting reaction. Dalmia Bharat Sugar and Industries. Again, I just want to highlight this because I think the sugar division of most companies is coming out with good numbers. Dalmia may react. Now, sales were up 51%, EBITDA 105%, PAT up 131%. The key is that the sugar segment EBIT was up more than 3x. That's the key thing, that the sugar segment is performing. There is talk of MSP revision in sugar on the upside. It should augur well for almost all sugar stocks. So they're kind of trading in a narrow consolidated range. Dhampur didn't react any big way towards numbers as well, even though those numbers were strong on Thursday. But watch out for the sugar names, viewers. There's something happening here, which is for the positive. And if you need the MSP revision, I don't know if it's formally announced or no, but if it does, it could be positive. Let's wait and watch. Lastly, I mean, we may not bring it up, but I'm just telling you that I think Donald Trump late last evening or something like that mentioned that there'll be new action in the coming days. Actually, it was Mark Pompeo who said that new action in the coming days related to Chinese software companies. Therefore, this salvo between the US and China continues to worsen, and that might be interesting to see what it does. Maybe on a fundamental basis with other companies coming in and investing in Asian nations other than China, including India, might actually be viewed positively from an Indian markets perspective as well. But let's see, mixed trends for the day for the markets. After 3 down days, will we have an up day? Well, maybe, just maybe, autos and Reliance will decide that. Thanks so much for tuning into the Trade Center.